There's one player that I have been more excited to talk about than anyone else by far here, and that's Shintaro Fujinami. I gotta ask you, what is your experience like with Shintaro? I also want to know what, if at all, is his current dialect when it comes to speaking English. Like, is that something that he knows fairly well? Was that a big struggle for him when you were in the clubhouse with him? And really, what can you say about him? Because this is a huge wild card pickup for the Mets. Someone that I personally wanted the Mets to go out and land over a year ago, because the guy's stuff is absolutely ridiculous. It's, again, about putting it all together. So what do you have to say about Shintaro Fujinami, your former teammate?
Just the nicest guy. I'll be honest, the respectfulness, like, there's gonna be no Japanese players that come over and are just like divas. You're not gonna get that.
Never.
It's
They're
funny.
always so humble.
Ichiro has a little bit of that in his career. Like, people say he got a little bit of diva going, but that was when he was in America for a while. Like, right. He wasn't that way when he came over. And he got the Michael Jordan thing going a little bit. So yeah, Fuji is one of the nicest dudes ever. I was so excited to play with him. He taught me some Japanese, which I don't even remember, so don't even ask. But I would try to get him to teach me like a word every day. So I know Kyodai is brothers. So like, I would just, everyone in a fist bump, I'd say brothers in the language that they speak. So the Spanish guys were hermanos, and then the guys were like, I'm like, guys, for the Americans. And then Kyodai for Issei is his translator, which I don't know if he's gonna be with him, but Issei he's an extension of Fuji. Those two guys are awesome. And the trainer, dude, they're all so great. I miss them a lot. I'm really sad we were sad that they got traded. We're happy for him because he got to go compete and be part of that run. But yeah, it was sad not having him around. That said, and also speaking English, maybe less than other guys. Okay. At least he might now speak a lot more, but he didn't speak a ton. And so you're doing a lot of like Issei. Issei speaks great English and also is very good at explaining things. So you're talking to Issei a lot. And then so it was like a triangle thing. But as a pitcher, electric. He is powerful. Like, you watch him do his.
He's ridiculous.
He's ridiculous. Like, he's so strong. He's big too. He's 6'6". Like, he's not a small person. But like, right. I'm thick. He's like, he was more slender, but just lanky, really powerful and grounded in the ground. Like, so strong. And so it doesn't surprise anybody that he threw as hard as he could. The thing that was interesting was talking to him about pitching, and he'd really just, I don't know if no one would talk to him much over there, but like, it was very rudimentary at first. I was like, oh, like, there's some things you could do, change a little bit in your head that would make you way better. And then we had some of those conversations, and it happened, and then he got traded and he kept going. So I think him plus Jeremy Hefner is gonna be awesome. I think, and full disclosure, I've already had some conversations with Hef about it. So and he asked me some questions, just knowing, because he knew I sat down there and talked to him all the time, which I did. Right. But I think him with Hef, they're going to maximize. He's going to find how does my stuff play the best, and maximize his thing. Because the thing about Japan is everyone tries to throw every pitch. Everyone wants to be a Shohei, which, duh, they should. But he's like, I'll throw a sweeper, I'll throw a slider, I'll throw a cutter, I'll throw a changeup and a splitter, I'll throw a four seam and a sinker. We're like, no, Fuji. You don't need a sinker. You do not need a cutter and a slider and a sweeper. Just pick one. And then your splitter is your best pitch by far. So we want to throw fastball, splitter, and then the rest is like, we'll have a wrinkle. But like, just do those things really well and just tunnel them, and you'll be good. So as soon as he started doing that, it was night and day. And I think he continues that. But I think there's not many other pitching coaches and like pitching apparatus that are better for him to continue to learn kind of the ins and out, like the whole thing about the numbers and looking at that stuff and trying to monitor yourself that, and then using those numbers to make tweaks and things. That is Hef's thing. Like, he's so good at that. And Fuji is a guy who's very interested in it. So I think we're going to get, it's not like that. There's just not as much tools like that in Oakland as most people know. And they're not quite there in that way yet. But the Mets are. And then they got Stern now too. Like, you guys are in a really good place in terms of the brain power and the philosophy stuff, that I think that it's probably the best place for him to be.
Before we get further into the video with former Met Trevor May breaking down everything that you need to know about his former teammate in Shintaro Fujinami, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button if you guys have been enjoying this breakdown thus far and are excited for further videos with Trevor May here on the channel throughout the year. Also, make sure to check out our great friends on the channel and today's video sponsor, BetUS. If you are at all sports better, BetUS has you covered, as they're safe, secure, and reliable. And as many of you guys got in on the action with the great odds and parlays that we saw this past weekend for Super Bowl Sunday, now they got you covered with all NBA action, NHL action, whatever sports you love, they got you covered. And with the MLB season right around the corner, we're going to be doing some awesome, unique WardyNYM parlays. So if I want to take Jeff McHits on 2 or more hits, Pete Alonso 2 or more bases, Kodai Senga 7 or more strikeouts, you can get in on that, play with me and others in this awesome community, and then we'll break it down in our post-game shows. It's going to be a lot of fun, so get in on all that and then some. Click the link in the description today to get a 125% boost off your first 3 deposits, meaning, yes, if you use the promo code JOIN, JOIN125, again, JOIN125, after clicking the unique link, if you deposit, say, $100, you automatically get $225 to work with for your first 3 deposits each. That simple, that easy, beautiful deal. Shout out to BetUS, as always, for being a great sponsor on the channel.
So I'm really excited to see what he does. But yeah, you're going to see 103 too. He's going to throw 103 miles.
Yeah, he's disgusting, and your jaw drop, because you're like, you see the stuff, you're like, how did you have a 70 ERA this past season? But then you put it together, you realize how he was first utilized by your A's, to then when he went over to Baltimore, changed up a little bit on his arsenal as well. Hilariously enough, the best outing I at least think Shintaro had last season was a perfect inning. And you want to know who he pitched that perfect inning against?
Mets.
Yes. That's the highlights rolling as we speak. Pete Alonso getting pieced up at the moment. But, you know, he has the 4-seam fastball, which, again, comfortably sits 98 to 103. The splitty, the cutter, the sweeper, the slider. Outside of the overwhelming fastball, what other aspects of his arsenal has stood out so much to you, and why?
Splitter. It's a splitter. His first big league strikeout was Mike Trout with a 95-mile-hour splitter. So, and he swung at it like, what was that? And then that outing went like something. Everything fell apart. I think he gave him 9 in like the 3rd inning. So it didn't go great after that. But yeah. Which, by the way, when you like, I think he gave up like 40 runs in his first 35 innings, and then you become a reliever. Like, your ERA is not going to go below 7. You're not going to get it below 7. No matter, you could go scoreless and end with the 6.5 for the rest of the year. Like, that's just not. So if he starts as a reliever, I think it's going to be better than it was. Those numbers don't. You got to look at like the last 4 months. The first 2 months were terrible, pretty much for everybody on our team. So I'm not holding that against anybody. But yeah, his splitter is something that he needs to just keep throwing it. In terms of movement in a vacuum, it's not like it's like crazy. You know, it's not a ghost fork. Ghost fork's moving by itself like a ton. It's really hard though, and it goes off. It looks like his fastball really late, so it breaks late too. He's got kind of like Jake. If you took Jake's pitches like in a vacuum, like his 4-seam fastball, outside of the velocity and his slider, neither one of those things move at an elite level. Like, he doesn't have a ton of ride. He's got good ride, not great ride, and it's just the way that they function together. So his splitter with his fastball, if he's elevating it, is going to be unhittable. And then if it's 93 to 95, like, what? I honestly think he should add like a big slow sweeper. Like, try to get because he throws a sweeper at 90. I'm like, if you could throw that at 80 and it's just slow, it doesn't even move very much, just slow, then it'll make those 2 things look so much faster. So I could see that happening, them giving him a curveball or something as like a early in the AB type pitch to get ahead. I think that could go a long way, but I don't think he needs much more than 100.
He threw a curveball a whopping 1 time last season. It reminds me of Jake back in the day too, because he always had the curveball in his back pocket, but he's like, when do I really need it? You know, it was just pick and choose. If he was just feeling like it one night.
Asked me that exact question. He goes, Trev, when should I throw my curveball? I'm like, never, Jake, never. Not only that, you should forget you have one. What are you doing?
The spin rate on it too was elite. That's the crazy thing. Like, everything about him.
Curveball, but you don't need, like, it looks different. That's his thing. He just don't throw anything that looks different. His changeup, his slider, and his fastball all look exactly the same. He's the best in the league, even now at that. The best. There's no one better.
So you highlighted the splitty from Shintaro. What's your thoughts on? I've been seeing a lot lately this offseason. It appears more MLB pitchers are now trying to toy with splitties in their arsenal because there was this initial belief that it can have this type of damage potentially on your elbow. Now we're seeing that it isn't to the same magnitude, and we're seeing guys in Japan and the MPB that of course have been doing it for years and are taking their talents now to either Queens or different parts of Major League Baseball. So what's your thoughts on all of that right now as pitchers seem to want to implement more splitties this year?
I think that we've realized the science has shown that it's not necessarily the amount of which you throw the pitch, it's the amount of which you ramp that pitch up. So the difference between that and like learning a sweeper or a slider or whatever, you're used to throwing breaking balls, your arm is used to supinating, right? So if you supinate all the time, you can pick that pitch up quickly, and then it can get into games and you can throw it often. It can go into your rotation quicker. Right. Splitters, though, are usually in their own, like there's a lot of little minutia with how you throw. Like I wasn't I didn't really snap things off. I was more of a straight arm kind of, things rolled off as snapped off. It's hard to explain this, but it was a pitch that was different than my other pitches. Though I threw a good changeup, so I had that arm action down. So it was like I had one of the parts, but not all of it, and I wasn't my arm wasn't in shape enough to throw it as much as I was, and I was just looking for anything to give me some success because I'm in the big leagues and I can't afford to like not throw it because I can't throw anything else. My arm hurts. So little did I know it was making it worse. So that's kind of the difference. So guys are taking the entire off season and then ramping up with that in mind, and then that's when they're learning it. Like Logan Gilbert, right? Last year he used to throw a straight changeup. Last year he goes forking it. He's throwing the same grip as Senga. And he even didn't start throwing it a lot until after the second half or till into the second half. So like it just takes longer to get going. And a lot of times we don't have that time to get it going. So you have to have a full out. You got to go into the off season with that in mind that I'm going to learn this pitch. But now, Drive Line and Tread and a lot of these places are teaching it. And they've learned how to pitch design it the same way they learn how to pitch design the sweepers. And the two seams and the seam shifting, it's just now it's in meta. So we're going to see a lot of splitters this year. But it's just, you don't be surprised to see more walks though.
Definitely going to see more. Definitely going to see more walks. And as a way to conclude talking about Shintaro Fujinami, let's break it down by discussing an outing where there were a lot of walks, and it was against those New York Mets last season. Can you please break down what that entire experience was like for you, witnessing it, of course, being part of the organization, everything, that game against the Mets last year, where, I mean, literally everyone and their mother was walked. I'm pretty sure, quite literally. 17, right? Yeah, we were walking a lot of people there. So what was happening in that game?
This was my look in the, this was my face in the bullpen the whole time.
Not great.
I think Ken Waldichuk started that. No. This was
this was Shintaro Fujinami's start, wasn't it?
Yeah, Fuji started, and then after him came in. Oh God, he's gonna kill me if he sees it.
You won't see it.
But we had someone come in to make their debut, and they walked sixth in an inning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then they actually ended up pitching pretty well when they came back, but like then they got sent back down. I was like, oof. I walked 7 in my debut in 2 innings, so like I couldn't. I'm like, dude, mine was worse. And look where I'm at. It actually wasn't worse, but it was close. But yeah, that day was tough. The clock was not helpful, like I said, it was like a lot of young guys. And Fuji, we can count as a young guy being in the big leagues for the first time. A lot of rookies trying to figure things out on the fly, and you have limited mound visits. You have a young catcher. You have a pitch clock. So there was no way to like stop the snowball from rolling down the hill without like forfeiting. So we were just, and then how many walks are up there when you get out there, and then now you're thinking about it. So it just made it worse.
It was a perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm, and we learned a lot about it. And that's actually spurred a lot of conversations about like how are we approaching guys? Like are we overthinking how we would like to approach hitters? Are we overthinking? Are we trying to be like big leaguers and like paint corners? And because we just aren't there, like as a group, we're not, myself included. I was walking dudes like crazy too. And I was like, let's open the zone up and let's go for the box. Let's go for control over command right now, because we were 12, like at one point we were 12 and 50. And I looked around and I said, guys, what's the worst could happen? We'll lose. And they're like, you make a good point. So I'm like, we are in a unique position to like go out and try stuff. You can do that here. Like, you can't do this, and you couldn't do that in New York. You can't. You got to win. So this is a unique opportunity. So go out and like take the chances that you need to take in order to get better. And then once we took that, like we saw guys getting better fast. And a lot of the reason I went there is because I love that. I love watching guys like from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, like really make strides. That part of the careers, guys establishing themselves, I got to watch that all year. But I'm like, this is the low point here. So I remember I had a little speech of like, that was bad. We can be better, but like, we don't need to fix it all tomorrow. We need to identify why that happened and then start making incremental changes to get better. And that's what they did. And the walk rates got better. The team ERA went slightly down. I believe Colorado ended up passing us. So we were only 29th in ERA.
Okay, there you go.
So, and we were winning by about 2 runs at one point. So I'm proud of that progress. It didn't end. It wasn't good at the end, but it was much better than it was. And so that's the way we thought about it. And that day was one like we had to look at each other and be like, okay, that can't happen again. I don't care who you are. I don't care, what the expectations are. That cannot happen at any level, especially the big leagues. So changes were made after that. And I thought it got better, and no one's going to forget it. That's for sure.